Welcome to the CraveCast. I'm your host, Eric Mack, live from sunny Taos, New Mexico. And joining me live in the CNET studios are our regulars, Kelsey Adams, Bonnie Burton, Jeff Sparkman, and behind the controls, it's Stephen Beecham. And also from somewhere in Texas, also via Skype, we got Danny Gallagher on the line.
Wait, did Danny freeze? Oh, no, okay. He's okay.
In scanners.
That's his motion face. So, as Americans prepare for Thanksgiving this week, we have much to be thankful for. From the new Jessica Jones out on Netflix and a Mystery Science Theater 3000 reboot, hopefully coming up soon. And, of course, the endless onslaught of Star Wars The Force Awakens hype that's truly the gift that keeps on giving this holiday season. So we're going to be discussing all that relative awesomeness. But first, I'm going to hijack the show to give a shout out to the hundreds of people that so far have checked out CNET's very first crowdsourced sci-fi novel that we've been working on for the entire month of November, which is National Novel Writing Month, although it should really be Global Novel Writing Month. Over the past 3 weeks, I've been kind of functioning as editor and had some really interesting discussions with people from Brazil and Nepal and all over the place. And we've still got a week to go to get to the goal of 50,000 words, which is the National Novel Writing Month goal. Thousands of people do this every November. And so we're trying to crowdsource 50,000 words of a sci-fi novel that is surprisingly complicated and takes place in multiple universes. And so there's about a week left, and anyone can join in. And there's, I think, at least one chapter left that hasn't even been started yet. If you want to write a chapter, or people jump in and edit and, just bounce ideas off each other. It's really a fascinating thing to watch. I mean, you can also just log in and watch the thing develop live, which I know a lot of people do. It's at cnet.com/crowd-sci-fi. cnet.com/crowd-sci-fi, and that will actually take you right to a live Google Doc, and you can just start jumping in and suggesting changes and additions. And it's been nothing if not a fascinating social experiment. We'll see how the final draft works out. We're going to take quite a while to edit what we get from this month and try to produce a nice final product that we can publish later, probably next year on CNET. So stay tuned for that. And we'll come back to that a little bit later. But first, let's just go ahead and jump right into Jessica Jones, which is out,
Yes.
New series out this month on Netflix. Our own Rich Trenholm wrote a review, and Bonnie, you wrote more of a preview, right?
Yeah, I wrote a preview about it a couple weeks before. Oh,
here's the trailer.
yeah, that's the trailer.
Oh, go ahead. You can talk.
I can talk. Okay,
Yeah.
that was Jessica Jones, played by Kristen Ritter, with Luke Cage, who's played by Mike Coulter. And that's her jumping.
And then what happens?
And then,
The preview.
well, here's the thing. We're going to probably be talking about a lot of stuff that are spoilerific. So if you haven't watched Jessica Jones yet, or you want to stay completely virginal for Star Wars, which sounds dirty now that I've said it out loud, that you probably should just, mute this and listen to other music while we talk. Because...
Or just go la 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 la
la la la la la for an hour, because here's the thing. Jessica Jones is an awesome show. It's on Netflix. You can binge watch it in one night like I did. All the episodes, the whole season's on Netflix right now. And Jess used to be, I'm going to talk as though I know her, like we're friends. Jess used to be a superhero, but she had to basically stop being a superhero because she came in contact with this horrible guy named Kilgrave, who's known in the comics, the Marvel comics, as Purple Man. And he was like a Jedi mind trick guy, so he could convince anyone to do anything. And he's played by the lovely David Tennant, as you see right there. That brings up a great point with the kids, shoving the kids in the closet. I'll bring that up again. That's one of his victims. I feel like I'm Mystery Science Theater 3000 in this.
You'll never be extreme, Bonnie.
I know.
We're spoiling the latter half of the podcast.
So the whole point is, I've been a big fan of Jessica Jones, the comic. I'm still hearing voices. Are you guys hearing voices? Oh, there it is. So yeah, he Jedi mind tricks everybody into, all the policemen into pointing the guns at each other so he could prove a point. I mean, how do you stop a guy who can do mind control? That's the big problem with the the big plot line.
Yeah.
And a big element of this story, and also in the comics, is that it's basically the story of someone recovering after a violation.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. So the whole point of this is more, and luckily there isn't. If you are very, just don't want to see a rape scene, don't worry. There's no rape in the episode.
It's mental.
It's well, yeah, he does
that,
both though.
And yeah.
If someone can mind trick you into having sex with them against your will, that's rape. So that's not consent. I mean, it's basically consent. But there's no rape scene in it, and no dogs die. Those are the two things I care about in movies and TV shows, and that doesn't show up in Jessica Jones. What does happen is she has a post-stress traumatic disorder. I never say that right.
Post-traumatic stress
PTSD.
PSTD. Yeah.
You have acronym stress disorder.
Oh my God, I can't do it. Anyway, so she has this residual trauma going on because in the comics, and they don't really explore about this, and I kind of hope they do in the second season a little bit more. Maybe they won't. Maybe second season will have nothing to do with Kilgrave. But in the comics, Kilgrave not only forces her to sleep with him and date him, he forces her to commit crimes and forces her to try to kill one of the X-Men. And in the comics, she comes pretty close to doing it till she stopped, and then she has to go through rehabilitation. But because she did all these horrible, horrible things, the rest of the superhero community doesn't trust her. So she just decides she's not going to be a superhero anymore, and she's going to be a private eye in Hell's Kitchen. And this is the same world that's post-Avengers destroying New York, trying to save New York, right? This is the same New York that Daredevil's in. This is the same, that's that realm. So...
And it's...
Oh, I'm sorry. And so the cool thing is with this show is that you have Daredevil. She mentions the Avengers. She mentions Daredevil comes into it. Rosario Dawson's in it. That's not a spoiler. That's been known for a while since the show was greenlit. So she comes into it. So there's that Daredevil connection. And then after this season will be Luke's show. Luke Cage has a show. That's the guy that she's romantically involved with in this. And then after that is the Defenders. And there's supposed to be another season of Daredevil, yeah? I'm confused if there's a second season of Daredevil. I assume there is.
Yeah,
I just don't know when it shows up.
I think it's January.
Is it?
I remember it wasn't very soon.
Okay.
But it is happening.
And then
and the Defenders is the one that brings them all together.
Defenders brings them all together. And it's just interesting how, I mean, this is why I love Marvel so much, is that they're connecting everything. So they're connecting the dots to all these superheroes and all these different shows. And if you're a Squirrel Girl fan, in the comics, she is the nanny for the child that Jessica Jones and Luke have. But I don't know if they're ever going to bring that in to
that might not happen on the TV show. Yeah.
That might not happen
it's
on
a little
the TV
inconvenient.
Show. It might not happen on the TV show. And there's a lot of things in the TV show that aren't what happens in the comics, clearly.
Yeah.
Because Marvel Comics is a huge, many decades worth of storylines. They can't shove everything in there. Perfect example of that is Jessica Jones' best friend, Patsy Walker, who's played by Rachel Taylor in that. And she is Hellcat in the comics. But they don't really talk about her being a superhero or anything on the TV show. They just talk about her past as a child star. So it's just interesting how they left some stuff out and they incorporated other things. And I'm a huge Jessica Jones fan. So anyway, so Rich's review, you can go read it. You can read my preview on CNET if you want. If you haven't seen it yet, if you want to just have a taste of what it's going to be about, or you're just slightly interested in the show. I talk about how excited I am for the show and the comic connections and all that stuff if you want to read the comics. And then Rich wrote a review after watching the season, and his commentary was that he thought it was more about Kilgrave and less about Jessica Jones, even though the title of the show is Jessica Jones, even though the main character is Jessica Jones. His criticism of the show in a nutshell, and you can read his whole review, which is really interesting, that it was more about Kilgrave and less about Jess. I don't necessarily agree. I think because she was violated by Kilgrave, that's the point of the show. Not that it's all about Kilgrave or all about Jess. It's what happens when you are a superhero that basically is defeated in the worst, most violated way. How do you survive that? And how do you come to terms with that?
In the comics, they're set a few years further on, and it's more about she's still dealing with a kind of feeling of loss of specialness. Like there was a time when she was free and beautiful and strong, and that's gone forever. You know, she's dealing with that. Whereas the show is immediately afterwards. It's more about the violence, the fear.
Yeah. And another good thing to bring up, too, is this is a world now where humans don't really like superheroes.
But they know about them.
They
and
know
that is
about
key.
them, but they don't know what to do. So if you're watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now, that has a storyline of there's people that not only do they know that aliens exist, they're super afraid of them. They think, oh, they're going to take over and kill the humans, and then in some cases they are killing some humans. And then in Daredevil, he's still kind of keeping his persona hidden.
Yeah.
And also in Jessica Jones, it comes up quite a few times in the series of humans that don't really cut her a break.
Yeah.
And she's having a rough day. She's trying to save people, and she constantly gets attacked by the worst neighbor ever, who's just a nutcase. So there's many different parts of Jessica Jones. One, I really like that she's a heavy drinker.
That was when I said, okay, I need this show. I need her to be a sloppy drunk who's
Yeah.
sexually aggressive.
Yeah.
No reason. No, but I need those two things for this to be Jessica
know.
Jones.
And here's the thing: if you, I think, is it Melissa Rosenberg is the showrunner? I feel like that's her name. If you look her up on Google, she's done a lot of interviews with Esquire and Glamour and all these different places about why she made Jessica Jones this Jessica Jones. Like, why you didn't need to see the actual trauma. You do see flashbacks of what she was like with Kilgrave, but you don't need to see the trauma to know that it existed. She is sexually aggressive, which is great. I love that. I love that it's not like this thing where she has to, at the end, be demure or anything. And I love that she drinks a lot of whiskey. But here's the other thing, and we learned this from Arrow. Did we learn this from Arrow? I feel like, no, Flash. Alcohol doesn't affect superheroes.
Well, it depends on your powers. It depends on your powers.
She's definitely...
Captain America could drink.
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
And
I knew I
never
Not
got
in the
drunk.
movies.
Well...
Oh, you mean he can drink without getting
I
drunk?
mean-
That's what you're saying.
No, I mean I remember him talking in the first movie. He was at the bar with the boys and was trying to get drunk and
Right. Yeah. No, I missed
his
the
super
picture. Yeah.
his super metabolism powers.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
And
and,
same
you know,
with Flash, right? Flash can't get drunk.
Yeah, it depends on
And
your powers.
it depends on your powers.
Flash has
So
super
it's
flash
likely
enzymes.
that Jessica can drink more than a normal person.
Yeah, and I think the same with Luke. Luke owns the bar.
He's invulnerable.
Nothing can harm him. So I don't know. I don't know if alcohol. But here's the other thing: if you're a big Doctor Who fan and you love David Tennant, this is a perfect example to see this guy's range. He was already evil in another TV series called Secret Smile. He played a stalker, so you should look that up on YouTube if you want to watch it. It's a
I
British
think he was
series.
evil on Doctor Who.
And
Don't get me started.
he could be evil in Doctor Who, but there's moments in Jessica Jones where you almost feel sorry for him, almost, and then you don't. So I'm just gonna leave it there. I don't want to spoil it for anyone else, but I just want to say that you should all check it out, especially if you're into superheroes, if you're into Daredevil, if you're into Marvel, and if you're into female badass superheroes.
And I just wanted to say before I forget that one aspect of the comics of Jessica Jones is they're very de-glamorizing. They show you the unglamorous side of various famous superheroes and also a world in which people know about superheroes, but they don't necessarily respect them.
Yeah.
So she's kind of in the
Yeah.
position of someone who's been targeted by revenge porn or something. Like everyone knows her business, but nobody necessarily respects her. She never knows who she's going to meet, who's going to know something private about her and feel like it gives him some right to talk to her about it,
And I will say there's a great scene where she makes fun of a costume. Because there are flashback scenes, especially with her and her best friend Patsy, who's called Trish Walker in this, where Trish tries to get her to wear a superhero costume because they grew up together. Because in the comics and in this, Jessica Jones gets her powers because her family are on their way to something like Disneyland type place, and they get into a car wreck, and of course it's a radioactive truck that they ram into, and she gets her powers, but her whole family's wiped out.
And she has guilt about that. That's
And
very well shown, I think.
She has survivor's guilt all the way through the season, and so it's just interesting. But they do make fun of the costume, which I think it was a great touch, because they do that in Supergirl a little bit too when they go through the different stages of costume. And they do that on every superhero show. Arrow's gone through that. Flash
Jeff was
has gone
just
through
pointing
that.
out, Sparkman, as we call him, was just pointing out what a great job of design they've done on the Flash. Like those costumes could have been super dorky, right?
Yeah.
But look how good they are.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Daredevil went through that too, where he had kind of a super dorky costume, and then eventually it turned out okay. But here's the thing: like, she doesn't have a costume. Her costume is basically what I would wear on a day-to-day basis, which is just
I
like
want that coat.
yeah, which is just like dark jeans, dark shirt, dark, and she's always like disheveled.
Shout out to Michelle Starr, who
I
was
was-
knitting her own Jessica Jones scarf, by the way.
Oh,
I was gonna
nice.
say,
Nice.
I think I have the male version of the Jessica Jones.
Awesome.
So I would be Jessica Jones if she was,
Yeah.
if she had a thyroid problem and no superpowers.
Oh, and if you always have a messy apartment, you will appreciate the series as well.
Oh, do you want me to turn the camera?
No, I wasn't saying you.
But
I wasn't.
my-
I wasn't specifying
My
you,
dishes
Danny.
are right there. It's hilarious. There's
And
things
also-
living in it. I've named some things in that sink.
Yay!
Just punch out the nearest window and
There's
we're good.
superheroes in Danny's sink.
There we go.
And to be fair
Oh,
to
I didn't say
Rich,
they were superheroes. They're just living things.
to be fair to Rich, we did invite him on to defend his review, but he had to go to a soccer football game
It's
instead.
an opinion. Like I don't necessarily say Rich is wrong. I just don't agree with it.
But he said
Well,
she
I
could
was
be
just-
anybody, and that is an interesting
Can I-
criticism.
Yeah, that's true.
Can I add one thing to what Kelsey was saying earlier? Because I had this thought, and I was like, and I haven't watched it all the way through, so I didn't want to throw my opinion. I kind of like this because it doesn't feel like a Marvel property.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I understand. I didn't know it was a comic before the show came along because I'm not as up on comics as most people. But and I'm not anti-Marvel at all. I love Marvel movies and comics and characters, but I'm a DC guy, and because they're a little darker and a little more brooding. And this just does not feel like a Marvel property to me. And I'm sure there are other examples people
Daredevil.
could give me. Yeah, Daredevil's, good example. But this feels like a dark kind of film noir, detective noir, which is my favorite style of film. Set in a modern age with, like you said, with a lot of, modern elements, about like this woman who's coming back from this very horrific incident. And I kind of I like that style of, I like those kinds of stories. And it, every time I look at the title screen, I'm like, there's a Marvel logo there. That doesn't feel like it belongs there for some
Yeah.
reason. Maybe it's just,
No, I mean you're right. It is really dark. And another comment that Rich put in his review, which I actually do agree with, is that he said that he wished that it was more about her using her powers to solve other people's cases brought to her, and there wasn't really a lot of people bringing cases to her. It wasn't like a proper detective show where each episode's a case. It wasn't kind of like that. It was an overall story arc. And it's a lot of her just dealing with who she is internally and not necessarily about, I mean, you get a little taste of the people that hire her at the beginning and that doesn't work out so
Right,
great.
yeah.
I mean, I feel like
And
that's
most
the
of her
effect that-
cases
oh,
are her spying on cheating spouses. I mean, that's basically her bread and butter is spying on
Right.
spouses.
And he wanted to see
And that would
more,
get boring.
Yeah.
quick,
more of her powers, but
in my opinion.
that is a deliberately frustrating thing in the comics, I think.
Yeah.
They choose not to tell you what her powers are for a while. They choose to only show them bits and pieces because that's not the point. It's a story of a person,
yeah,
which is
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting. It's hard to read, but it's interesting.
yeah. And the whole point
which
too
is better,
is
which I think is. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no. I was just gonna say the whole point too is that when you have superpowers, how much must it suck when you basically get overwhelmed by a villain who can get into your head and make you do things, and so you don't
Yeah.
even get to use the superpowers for what you want to do. You have to do it for some villain douchebag who's like taking over your brain, and it sucks. And that's to me, that's like the worst thing ever is to have superpowers that suddenly you're not in control of. Somebody else is like a puppet master, and that's horrible. So I don't know. I felt for her during the show, but I'm just glad she drank. And there's some serious sex scenes. So people that were commenting on my preview going, hey, I really want to watch this with my 12-year-old son. I'm like, well,
No.
if you
Separate
No.
rooms.
No,
Just
no.
watch it in separate rooms.
I was like, if you want, you can, but
Watch it in
this is a
separate
great
rooms.
opportunity for the sex talk. This is a
Watch
good.
it.
This
Really?
is yeah.
I wish you were my mom when I was growing up. You can watch Showgirls, honey. You just have to watch it in a separate
Well,
room.
my mom was a hippie, so it's like
Oh, okay.
we learned about sex way too young, so we just
I grew up in
totally
the
got
South.
warped. Yeah, but I
I grew up
mean,
in the South. I had to learn it on the street.
there are some real there are real sex scenes in this. I mean, not just
yeah.
I mean real sex scenes. Like there were some Kama Sutra moments. So I was just like, this is I'm learning. This is good.
This
No,
is
it
how
was
many
great.
This
episodes
is our
are
sex
there?
ed.
How many episodes are there on Netflix right now for people who want to get started?
13,
13.
12?
13,
Yeah, 13, I think.
yeah. And you can do it all in one sitting. I did it. It's just
Maybe don't, though.
maybe don't. I just did it because I didn't want anything
No, I feel like with
spoiled.
this show, you have to kind of watch it slowly.
Yeah, but I
Like
will.
this is to me, this is an anti-binge watch show. Like if you watch it all at once.
Oh, I had to
One-
binge watch it because I didn't want it spoiled for me online.
Well, we had. I mean, as professionals, people like us.
How dare you call me
But-
that, sir?
Professional
Oh, a
what?
professional?
Yeah.
A professional scribe?
A
I
Professional.
bard.
don't know your job
Something.
title. A bard?
An
No, but I
online
feel like
bard.
this is the anti. This is one you want to watch slow. This is like wine. You don't want to chug
Well,
it.
there we part company,
Yeah,
Danny.
you've never seen me drink wine either.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I binge
A
watch.
fine wine.
I will binge watch it it's like boxed wine for me, right? So I'll just guzzle all of it, and then I'll go back.
The Francia of shows.
I'll watch all of it at once, like a cheap Target box wine, and then and that's a plug in case they want to send me any. And then I'll skip a week, and then I'll come back another week and slowly watch it and devour it like a fine French wine, and I'll slowly watch it. So I have to speed through it, and then I'll rewatch it, because that's what I did with Daredevil.
I'll amend my metaphor. This is like a 30-year-old Scotch whiskey that you have to drink slowly to truly appreciate.
Okay, I can understand that. So here's one last thing I want to say about Jessica Jones, and then we can move on, because I have to get everyone's opinion on this after they watch it. If you haven't watched all of it, you don't need to have watched all of it necessarily. But you saw in the trailer when Kilgrave came into that house and put the kids in the closet, and the whole comment was he said that kids should be seen and not heard, and he's like, better yet, I don't want to see the kids, and he tells them to go in a closet. That's the first episode. Second episode. That's the second episode.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
What happens to those kids? It never gets revisited.
Oh, they're dead.
So I'm like, are they Harry Pottering it in there? Like, do
spoiler.
they think they're going to get, like, a Gryffindor letter? Like, what do they think is going to happen?
He's just very, very evil.
Netflix.
He's just an evil person.
But we never find out, because there's other people he tells to do things that you see what happens to them, but you never find out what happens
Well, they
to
do
those
mention
kids.
that his power only lasts for a certain
That's
amount
true.
of time.
Yeah, it wears off.
Does it?
In the comics, it wears off.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
you're not physically close to him.
All right. I'm just going to assume the kids are alive, but I really like the idea of them still in the closet.
Was that an anti-spoiler?
I don't know.
It's
It's kind of
anyway,
like
I
this
feel like
Disinformation?
I feel like that's a spoiler because I don't. Yeah.
about the kids.
Well, what happens to them after?
beware.
We don't know.
We can't spoil you about something we
Right.
don't know.
We
I'm
can't
saying
spoil
it's
because we
okay.
don't know. We don't know what
That's
happens to those kids.
speculation.
Right,
Speculation
right.
is totally
Those
fine.
kids are still in that
You're not
closet.
revealing anything, but the thing you're revealing is that there's nothing revealed.
Those kids are still in the closet. There's going to be another Marvel show just about those kids stuck in the closet.
All
Closet
right, well, how about
babies coming
let's
soon
send
to
Jeff to go
Netflix.
look for the kids. And
Go,
in the
Jeff,
meantime, let's move on to another show that I think is also kind of an anti-binge watching show, unless you are, really have a lot of Mountain Dew.
Oh, I love
Mystery-
binge watching.
Yeah, Mystery Science Theater 3000.
My family used to watch this for hours at a time, so
Yeah.
you're wrong, Eric. It's totally
Yeah.
a binge-watching show.
Movie time. And the cool
Correct.
thing is, for Thanksgiving, they're doing a marathon.
Joel!
No!
Oh, look at him. I just want to hug him.
I know.
This usually jogs
Yeah.
memory.
Yay! I'm so
I've always been
excited.
proud of the way we made MST3K.
Oh, I love Joel.
Can I just start?
I
This is-
touched him once.
Oh yeah, I met him. I met him.
Be
too.
proud.
I know. I run up to him, and he's not a hugger. I don't think he likes it when people touch him. But I ran up to him once, and it was at an ILM presentation when he was doing Cinematic Titanic. It was their version,
but-
because it
Yeah.
went into different parts. There was Riff Tracks and then Cinematic Titanic. But this is actually Mystery Science Theater. They're bringing it
He
back.
got the rights to the name.
He got the rights to the name. They're bringing it back. It's two different. There's a new cast though. So the original cast is going to be involved creatively, which means behind the scenes, like writing stuff. And there's going to be cameos. However, the main thing is that the new host is going to be Jonah Ray from Nerdist. He does a bunch of stuff with Chris Hardwick, and he's done stand-up and stuff. And then the story that I just wrote that went live today is that Felicia Day is going to be the new mad scientist, and she's she's going to be Dr. Forrester's daughter. How cool is that? Oh my God, that's Laser Blast.
Oh, wait.
I love Laser
Would it be
Blast.
Was it? Would she be the granddaughter? Because wasn't Mary? I
She's
forget when Mary.
no,
Jo-
she's Mary. She's Mary Jo Peel's granddaughter. So it's her character because she was the mom.
Oh, so it's okay. I got
Well, it's weird because Mary Jo Peele played a bunch of different characters. So
Right.
I don't know. It's confusing, but just know that Felicia's in it, and Jonah Ray's in it, and they have two new voices for Crow and
Servo.
Tom Servo.
Shut up!
Sorry.
Shut up! Tom Servo
sorry.
and Crow
I
are
had
two different comedians that Jonah Ray handpicked because they're friends of his. So it's a brand new cast. So that's the thing you gotta know. But they will have cameos.
And the Kickstarter's at 2.6 million out of a $2 million goal.
Well,
with
here's the
17
thing.
days
That's
left.
that's their first goal. So their $2 million goal is for 3 episodes, and then it gets cheaper after that. So
Okay.
3.3 million. I think they get even more episodes. There's
Oh,
a
5.5
5.5 million.
there's a
for
graphic
12.
if you go down
Yeah.
somewhere. in the
5.5
article.
million, and you get a full
Yeah.
season of 12. It says.
Yeah.
Right.
So the thing is, I explained it in my first article when I announced the show on CNET. I explained that breakdown of what that means and why it's cheaper to do more. It cost in that initial $2 million because of all the upstart fees, right? Of all the stuff you have to do at the very beginning, and then like pay for the puppets and stuff like that. And then after that, it's cheaper.
You mean puppets? They're not real?
They're not real. But the
They're
cool thing
robots.
is,
Do not destroy my fantasy.
here's the cool thing though. Some of these Kickstarter perks are that. Oh, whoa, what's going on there? Hey.
Oh, that was just
Too close. Too close. No. What are you showing? This is CNET. What are you doing?
Baby oil. Ah!
Oh my god, I can't concentrate. Okay, thank you. I totally lost my train. Oh, perks. Oh my god, why'd you do that to me? Perks. No. I'm having a seizure.
What is going on?
I'm having a seizure. So some of
I feel
the
like I
perks.
should be riffing
Some
on
of the
this.
perks are you can get on a VIP set tour. You can show up on the show. You can have your joke, like you can have one of their riffs, one of your mocking of movie quotes on the show. You can even get one of the puppets if you like give them a lot of money. I think it's like $10,000 you get to take Crow home with you or something. So
Jeff, did someone take a riff of yours once, or am I making that up?
Oh yeah, for riff tracks, they had a contest, and it was for the live riff of Reefer Madness.
nice.
And they had a contest where they
Oh,
gave
yeah.
you a bunch of scenes,
Yeah.
and they wanted you to do jokes for it, and they picked one of mine.
Dude, that's awesome.
So I got to see
Wait,
people
what?
laughing at a joke that I wrote in a movie theater.
Wow.
From Riff Tracks,
What
which
you-
is half of the Mystery Science
Yeah.
Theater guys.
Yeah.
This is gonna blow your mind. What year was that?
You
You remember?
it had a 2 at the front. I got
200.
I actually won. It wasn't in the movie, but I actually won tickets to that show for a riff contest they did on their blog, where it was like you had to. They put up. It was the funniest idea. They put up a family circus, and you had to take a riff from one of the riff tracks and put it in.
Oh, nice.
And I don't remember what it was, but I won a ticket to that Reefer Madness show.
Oh, sweet.
Aw.
That's creepy.
I mean-
The irony is I didn't actually get to see my name at the credits at the end of the
Oh,
movie
really?
because
Oh.
the
Oh.
theater that I went to see it at,
Yeah.
they screwed up the feed.
Ugh.
Oh.
And so,
Oh,
like,
I hate that.
it was like they showed the very end of the movie, and then there was like, oh yeah, we're running late clip. I'm like,
Oh. God, it's just like
Oh
the
my God.
Oscars.
yeah, I know.
hope you got indignant with them.
I got played off.
Oh. So anyway, you can read about it on CNET about what's happening. You can still contribute. I think they have 17 days left for the Kickstarter, so you can, raise your savings so you can buy a puppet or something. But it's cool because once they make these episodes, they're gonna see if if they could distribute it on TV, but it's gonna be online regardless. I mean, it's gonna be able to be
Yeah.
viewed. But Joel does want to see if they can try to get back on cable. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm hoping Sci-Fi or maybe Netflix will pick it up. I mean, that would be pretty rad. So,
Oh yeah, it was made for Netflix.
and then
Wow.
also just keep in mind because they do this every year, every Thanksgiving, because the show debuted in 1988 on Thanksgiving Day. They do a Thanksgiving Day movie marathon of Mystery Science Theater. And I wrote in the Felicia Day article that went up today, towards the bottom of the article, it tells you where you can go to watch all 6 episodes that they're doing. They're new movie episodes, not brand new, but I think they're just ones that haven't. I don't know if they've been released on DVD or not, or if they've been different ones that have been selected on DVDs.
Oh, I don't know.
Here's the thing: if you're collecting all the Mystery Science Theater DVD collections from Shout Factory, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, it's hard to
Yeah.
keep track.
There's a lot. Like I lost track after I have most of them, and I still think I'm behind. It's like trying to own all the Simpsons box sets. Like you
It's
just
even worse. It's even worse if you started with the Rhino.
yeah,
video
Oh,
right,
yeah. Like,
exactly.
Like, that's where I started.
That's
and
you
I've
just
run out of space.
oh, there's so many. So anyway, they have that video on YouTube and it explains where you can watch them all and stuff. But you should check it out, and it should be something that you watch with your family every Thanksgiving, like we did. And Kelsey, did you
Yeah,
say
me
you
too.
did too when you were
Not
with?
Thanksgiving particularly, just all
In
the
general.
time. We used to do it a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
And Mystery Science Theater has an official YouTube channel too, so you can watch other movies that they've got up there for free, and it's kind of a cool YouTube channel. So that's my shtick. But yeah, I have to do full disclosure. I'm friends with Felicia. But here's the thing: I didn't know she was going to be on the show, and I just talked to her like last week. She didn't mention anything, so she's really good at keeping secrets. And they have
Just like a mad scientist.
they have one more person that they haven't announced yet on the show, who's supposed to be her henchman So they haven't even announced who that person is. It's not Will Wheaton, because I already asked him and it's not him. And also, he's made perfectly clear on his Facebook it's not him. So I don't know who it's going to be. I hope the henchman is. I want it to be Nathan Fillion, but he might be busy. So I don't know. Maybe list in the comments of the article who you think should be.
I think it's going to be Ray Fiennes.
I was going to nominate Jeff.
Oh,
It's not me.
It's not Jeff.
That would be sweet.
I would
could
give
see
my
that.
I would give parts of my body for that to happen.
Yeah, it's not Jeff,
Now,
and
yes.
it's not Will Wheaton. Maybe John Hurt. I don't know. Maybe Mark Hamill. Maybe Mark Hamill.
It's Lorne Green.
I hope it's
Actually, you know, I think it could. This just hit me, and I thought this would actually be a cool pick.
yeah.
John Hamm.
Yeah. Yeah, he was good. That's a good segue into Star Wars because he did the SNL skit that I
Ham
wrote
Solo.
about this weekend.
Oh yeah.
John Hamm Solo trying to audition for the Han Solo role. It was an article I wrote about Star Wars Force Awakens auditions that SNL did a skit for, which they do for every Star Wars movie. As we all remember, Kevin Spacey playing Christopher Walken trying out for Han Solo is probably the most well-known SNL skit that happened a while back.
I
But
remember
this
that.
was
That's good.
all the cast were different celebrities in this, and then actual celebrities were also in this. So you had Michael Bublé singing "Making Wookie" to the song "Making Whoopee," and then you had Emma Stone just trying out for Ray, the character Ray, and then you had John Hamm dressed as Han Solo, and he said, "Just call me Ham Solo." And it was amazing. Oh yeah.
And Leslie Jones showed up with the Klingon makeup.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
very
that was
Yeah.
good.
That was
Of course, they
priceless.
had to do a Star Trek joke at the end. I mean, you can't. I mean, come on. But it was very sweet, but there were some that were kind of a little hit home, like when both Daisy and John are in it. There's Daisy with
Oh yeah.
they're trying to be Sophia Vergara from Modern Family.
I love Minions, the little yellow guy. They're so funny you can't understand nothing they say.
Shaquille O'Neal reading for Chewbacca. Screen test, Javier Bardem.
I have a suggestion. Well, of
That's
course
okay.
there is a lightsaber, but maybe he's coming from here. You see he's coming from here? And then we have two little ones like.
Oh yeah, so good. You should fast forward it to the John Hamm. He's at the very end if you want to do it. The only joke I didn't think was very funny because it hit home a little bit with John Boyega, who plays
Finn.
Finn. He said he laughs when he reads, "Oh, you want a black stormtrooper," and laughs at it like it's a joke. And I'm like, I know he's riffing on fans. Oh, there's John Hamm.
So if you guys want to start, you have the first line. It's, "What's up, Ham Solo?" And I'm like, "How's it going, guys?"
So I feel
Oh, so good.
conflicted about all this because you know
Yeah.
every CraveCast comes up every month, and there's been more and more Star Wars hype, and it's like we have to acknowledge it
We
because
don't have to.
well at this point we have actually hyped the Star Wars hype. You know what I mean? Like the conversation about how there's too much hype. Like we're hyping that.
I
at this
don't
point.
think we've done a full-on Star Wars like force fatigue article, which I am tempted to write because I mean I used to work for Lucasfilm, and I never felt this tired writing about Star Wars, and I worked there for 10 years, and this is the first time I'm like, every other article I'm writing for CNET feels like a Star Wars article. One, because they do really well on CNET, because everybody wants to talk about Star Wars. Two, there's some great stuff out there, and all of us freelancers are writing about CNET, not just me. I mean Star Wars, not just me. But the problem now is that I'm finding, I'm just getting a little tired of all the teaser trailers and trailers. And I'm not trying to be spoiler free, but it's like, you guys, leave us some stuff. Like the Luke
it's the
theories.
Disney machine. I mean, it's very much.
Okay, here's a perfect example. I wrote a story about the first word that's going to be spoken on Star Wars because Jimmy Kimmel last night had a whole episode, like a whole show dedicated to Star Wars Force Awakens with the whole cast there, except for Mark. I don't think Mark was there. But Harrison
Or
Ford.
was he?
Was he? And so Jimmy asked J.J. Abrams, what's the first word that's spoken? And he said, if you don't want to know it, shut your ears, but it's this. No, it means this. This.
Yeah.
This is the word.
Okay,
Third base.
can I just jump in? If you're getting mad that if you're I don't mean you specifically.
Okay,
if you're
good.
a Star Wars fan who has gotten mad that we've spoiled the first word uttered on screen in the film, you need help.
So here's the
I
thing.
mean, that's too much.
There it
to
is
me.
on screen
Like,
again.
Oh, see, that was a teaser right there.
All the fans that are hardcore Star Wars fans know the first word to every Star Wars movie that's spoken and the first word in the opening crawl, right? And I include in my article all the first words that are spoken in all the Star Wars films, just in case someone thinks there's a pattern or a clue or... I mean, if you rearrange the words it does spell Sith.
It also spells something else.
It also spells a curse word we can't say. Or hits. Like it's going to be a hit. Hits, right?
That's what I was talking about.
Or a stormtrooper can't hit the broadside of a barn.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I don't know. I'm excited
so
for
in the
December just so we can stop talking about it.
Well, yeah. In the interest of time, I'm going to move us a little bit beyond the first word. And let's get into the meat. And you guys have written some really interesting pieces that are actually unique and different from what everyone else is writing. In particular, let's start with Danny, and then we'll come back to you, Bonnie. But Danny, you wrote an interesting take on the missing Luke Skywalker in all the clips we've seen so far. What was that about?
Right. Because I watched the trailer. I actually watched the football game where from the trailer. And and everyone, the only thing everyone seemed to be talking about was that there's no Luke. Where's Luke? And so I thought, okay, I'll just make fun of this a little bit, and kind of started reading up on what the theories were. The bigger ones, like he's joined the dark side, or that I think he died and now he's a Force ghost. I don't know what the term is for when Jedi die and become a ghost.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. So, but it's just like it hit me like just how impatient I think some people are to just know it. Like there's kind of this. What bothers me about the hype is that like some people don't understand that part of the fun of seeing these movies is that you kind of let the mystery build, and then when it's revealed, it hits you in the face like a cinder block. And so that's what was kind of how I approached the theories I came up with. And my favorite was that Luke was in the trailer.
Yep.
But now he has Jedi invisibility powers.
See, I think we just saw him.
So technically he's in every scene. He's just invisible.
I think we just saw him because I don't think R2D2 lets people touch him like that.
Not there
I assumed
anyway.
he was the guy in the black glove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want you to look
and that
for
was,
him.
The prevailing theory was that he's the hooded guy with R2D2.
Yeah.
But even that explains, like, is he dark? Is he dead? Is he?
Who cares? He's in it. He's
is
got
he
a
robot?
glorious
Yeah.
beard full of secrets.
It's Abrams. He wants hype. It's Abrams.
He's probably
And
out getting
French
coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
He's the intern on this movie. That's another theory I could have done.
and what what makes Ray cry so hard? Who dies first? Han Solo, I think. Yeah, so this is what fans are for. This is what we do. We debate things to death. We try to figure out what's going on and who's going to die and who's going to survive and where people have gone dark and all that.
I mean, I get that, but it's still like the internet kind of ruins some. Like when I was writing this piece, I went back and kind of looked over some of J.J. Abrams' other movies, and I watched his TED Talk on the Mystery Box, which is one of my favorite TED Talks.
Sorry.
Oh my God,
It
Kelsey
really is.
hates that box.
What?
Have you watched his shows? It's a terrible way to write a story. I don't have to actually have a story here. I just have to get people excited and then wander off and think about something else. It's terrible. He ruins everything he touches. Don't get me started on Star Trek. He ruined it. Anyway, back to you.
I don't know what
Star Trek was purgatory, right?
I like the Star Trek,
right.
but no, the
Lost
point was
was
like
Star
you don't have to know everything. Like sometimes the fact that it's a mystery makes it better.
Yeah.
Not knowing what's in the box makes it more fun.
But there has to be something in the box ultimately.
No, I understand that. Yeah, I mean there has to be a reveal.
It's called the Force.
No, it's okay.
It's the Force. The Force is in the box. You just can't
like,
see it, Kelsey.
Like mystery science
something
theater
box.
or something.
In a box. Oh
when
my
you
God.
when you look
Kelsey,
in
are
the
you not
box,
looking
it
forward to
ruins
the
show.
Star Wars now? I didn't know you had this much hate for J.J. Abrams.
Oh, I really do. I hate him.
Wow, I didn't know that either.
Yeah. No, I think he's
didn't-
very talented.
It's because you
But
don't
that's
sit
what's
next
so
to her.
frustrating about it. He gets you excited, he gets you interested, and then he's got nothing he can't deliver.
Interesting.
I agree 100%.
Interesting.
See, I'm not crazy. Eric agrees with me. And look at his
Really?
beard.
This is the
Yes,
first.
is that the beard of a crazy man? I don't think so.
This beard is in the box.
Wait,
What's
I
in the
just figured it
box?
out. Eric is Luke.
Oh, I
Yes.
knew it.
Or
Sing
Obi-Wan.
Americana 5 nights a week. And so Bonnie, what about your take on
right.
Leia and Carrie Fisher?
Yeah, so I wrote an article for CNET about how I was really excited that they let Carrie Fisher be Carrie Fisher. Like they let Princess Leia, who's now General Leia, which is, sorry, spoiler, but if you're watching this, you're already got everything
Well, really,
spoiled.
didn't she stop being a princess like about halfway through the first movie? Technically,
I mean, technically, yeah, because when you blow up
The
the
planet,
that you
y-
rule,
you're princess of an asteroid field at
you're
that point.
princess of nothing after
Yeah.
that. But I mean, I think they kept it because Han
Yeah.
kept calling her princess to get under her skin.
But
and
she
I-
was leading troops even back then.
Yeah, I mean, she was leading troops back then, and you can see even in that background with the blue and the green, that's the same blue and green we see her when she's given general orders when she's in her cool Empire Strikes Back outfit. And I'm not talking about the bikini. I'm
No, that
talking
would be
about
Jedi.
at the very beginning. Oh yeah, that was Return of the Jedi. Anyway, my point was they let her age gracefully, and they didn't CGI up her face, and they didn't make her get a bunch of plastic surgery. So that's what she looked like when she was in the original trilogy. And then, Steven, work your magic. Show her now. Show her now. I know. We'll do it now because I'm talking about her. I'm so demanding. I'm like a general. There we go. So they I'm sure those touched up a little bit just because you can't have any photo ever be released for anything without slightly touching it up. But she still looks amazing. And I tweeted some more pictures of her that have come out for this new movie, and she looks amazing. And so I'm super stoked that they let her age gracefully. They let her be her. They let her still be someone of power. She's a general. She's not there to just be, Han Solo's love interest. She's actually still very powerful and very interesting character. And I also brought up some stuff about in Hollywood, there's a bunch of actresses that have come out of the ageist closet recently that have said that Hollywood needs to knock off their ageist problem. And one point in particular was, I believe it was Anne Hathaway and Maggie Gyllenhaal, who are both in their 30s, were told they were too old to play a love interest for men in their 50s. Wow. Yeah. And Meryl Streep said stuff about ageism, and she's played some amazing roles. I mean, Meryl Streep's freaking Meryl Streep, and she doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, she has Academy Awards to prove that it doesn't matter how old you are. It just matters how great an actor you are and how great the material is that you have. So, I mean, I don't know. I love Carrie Fisher in general. I think she's amazing. She's hilarious. She's great on social media. If you haven't followed her on Twitter, you should, because she's hilarious.
Yeah, she is.
But I'm just really glad that she was allowed to be herself in this movie. So that's what that commentary is. That's me being a big old girl talking about old broads like me.
Can
The
I just
end.
say though, if People's Sexiest Man Alive had a Lifetime Achievement category, Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Right? I don't know.
But that
I
was
love-
off topic.
I love Harrison
Sorry.
Ford too because he's so persnickety. Like when he was on Jimmy Kimmel last night, both he and Carrie Fisher were just so like in their element. And even on the American Music Awards this weekend, when they did that horrible, I shouldn't say horrible. Here's the thing: American music. If they're gonna have John Williams on, I understand. But instead it's an a cappella group dressed in bad Star Wars costumes. Singing, and by singing I mean doing the like that kind of thing.
Beep, beep, boop.
Like all of us know the theme song to Star Wars. We've all sung it in various ways that make us giggle because we're being goofballs. These people do it professionally. So they were on the stage after Harrison Ford with almost a straight face said, "Here's the award-winning a cappella group doing the Star Wars theme," and everyone's like, and it's just. Come on. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean,
that was
like,
the one Harrison Ford introduced, right?
yeah.
Okay, because
It was-
they're actually from my area. So
Sorry. I remember what they're.
You're gonna get his ass kicked, Bonnie.
Sorry.
I'm gonna get my ass kicked by an acapella.
I don't know.
But at least you'll have a great soundtrack.
Yeah, the sound effects of that will be amazing.
I don't know if you get beat up by an acapella group. Do they make the sound effects too while they're beating you up?
They'll do kung fu fighting.
I just want to write a sketch now where I'm describing it to a police officer. What were they like?
Beat you down.
Harmony. The baritone was a little slow.
Yeah.
But
The soprano really has a great left hook. Yeah, I feel like if you get beat up by an acapella group, you got to rethink your life a little bit.
Hey,
They
Steven.
beat you down with bass.
Jeff just sent around his riff tracks credit.
Nothing but treble.
If you want to put that on the screen.
So we're running up at the end of the show here. And I just before we go, I want to say hi to in the live stream chat room. Just want to say hey to I believe the name is Acilio Mendez, who is one of the folks that's been a really active participant in our crowdsourced sci-fi novel I mentioned at the beginning. cnet.com/crowdsci-fi. Again, if you want to check it out. It's been really interesting. There's been more than one. I mean, actually, a handful of people who are not native English speakers who, I mean, you wouldn't tell it from conversing with them on Facebook and in the Google Doc, but they've been going through and editing and making suggestions. And then, they tell me later that they're not comfortable writing in English. Although, again, I would never have guessed that these weren't native English speakers from just emailing and chatting with them. So we have people writing, and then we have people who might not even be English speakers going through and doing some edits and making suggestions. And Acilio has joined us in the live stream chat room. So just want to say hey to him, and also just to remind everyone to go check that out at cnet.com/crowdsci-fi. We still got about a week left to finish writing 50,000 words. We're at it was growing as I was logging on to the show, but we were at 35,000 words already. Approaching a 100-page crowdsourced novel that deals with the multiverse and nanobots that let people live forever in the future. It's really all over the place.
Eric, what's going to happen when this gets optioned?
It's
how many people are going to be getting IMDb credits for?
Is it gonna be like the producers, where everybody gets like 200 people get 30%?
Yeah.
It's all Creative Commons, so
okay, cool.
Anyone can take it and do what they want with it. Actually, so it is kind of to avoid future legal problems. We just made it open to everyone. All you have to do is attribute it, and so there will probably be somewhere there will be a page with the full credits. And I've been keeping track of all the people who aren't anonymous who want credit, and I mean there's dozens and dozens of names, mostly people editing it, which really surprised me. In addition, not just people from other countries, but I know there's some people from MIT who log on pretty regularly and are just going through kind of with a fine-tooth comb and editing stuff.
Well, I was wondering, Eric, I mean, you're trying to tell a coherent story, right? With so many people contributing, how are you doing that? Isn't it like herding cats? How do you do that?
So on day 3, I realized that there was going to have to be some sort of a structure. So I mean, the premise, the storyline is actually an idea that I've had kicking around in my head for a while. Just in one sentence, really quick, the idea is that there is a multiple or an alternate Earth somewhere in another universe. That if you go there, it's kind of a more technologically advanced Earth. That might resemble what we would think of as heaven or utopia, and through some kind of quirk of quantum physics, when people die on Earth, they do go to this place. So a lot of people think it's heaven. However, on Earth, around 2050, the technology advances to the point where we're living a lot longer, almost to the point of being immortal. And with fewer people going to this other parallel planet where they're kind of used as a labor force, it starts to really screw with their economy. So they have to send an emissary to 2050 Earth to convince people to start dying again.
So heaven needs us to die.
Heaven needs us to
That's
die,
interesting.
basically.
Oh, that's
the name of the
cool.
book.
We've got 3 different options, like human capital, human something else. That's one thing that is being edited.
I like the title "Heaven Needs Us to Die."
Yeah.
Or maybe Die Already.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
Sounds like an
Die Another
anti-Mitch
Day,
album.
please. And to answer your question, Kelsey, like, so that concept, at first I just had like 2 paragraphs. What I just told you was just sitting there at the top of the doc, and then it wasn't enough. So around day 3, I did go through and I outlined each chapter. So I basically wrote a paragraph summary of like 21 chapters. And for the last 3 weeks, people have been going in and fleshing out those 1 paragraph chapters. And it's been really amazing. There's been only like 1 case of vandalism. And there's been a lot of really interesting conversations about, really, deep topics that, I mean, like I said, well, it crosses language barriers, and it's been really, really fascinating to watch. And definitely, and anyone can still participate. There's still time to.
And is it easy to read through? Or is it kind of like an exquisite corpse where things don't really match up, but it's still entertaining? I mean, that just seems, this whole concept of so many authors in one story is very
like. Do you have
intriguing.
to go in and get rid of stuff and say this just doesn't work? I'm getting rid of this.
How do you determine that?
So like, right, yeah.
Is it like Hunger Games? Is it like if I contribute and you don't like it, then all of a sudden I just see my name kind of float up as you take out my part?
It's not quite that dramatic, but I mean, yeah, if you were to go through and read, I think what we have on November 30th, I mean, it's not completely coherent, and it'll
like I can't go in and just add in like a lonely unicorn, right? Like you just okay. Well, that'll be me.
I mean, I do like have the power to we also realized the limits of Google Docs pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like originally I was just leaving everything in there, like all the edits, and you can see like where stuff was crossed out, new stuff was replaced, and then it broke Google Docs. So a couple times I've had to go in and just I accept all the minor stuff as much as I can. And I do have, and I can go back and I have all the drafts, the revisions, so I can go back and add anything if I need to. That's only been requested once. So yeah, I kind of go in and clean it up every now and then. Otherwise, it'll just break. But the whole National Novel Writing Month thing, which I think you're also doing, Bonnie.
I am.
The goal is not.
That's why I'm not sleeping.
Oh, right. I mean, but the goal is not to have a finished final draft on November 30th. It's to have like a rough draft, and that's what we'll have, and then we'll rework it.
It's mostly about writing. It's just teaching you as a writer to just have a certain amount, and this is what a lot of novelists do too, just so they can get through something and get done. Is that your first draft is always going to be crap, and then it's like your second, third, and fourth drafts are where you actually make something real. But yeah, it's basically just a torture test to see how much you can write in one day. And I do the thing where I like let a couple days lapse, and then all of a sudden I'm up 24 hours writing things that don't make sense. So, and then I put footnotes on everything, like David Foster Wallace type. Wallace Foster. See, I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm so tired. I've been writing. I even put like a Jessica Jones homage into my story. It doesn't even fit. I don't know why I put that in there. There was like a Sherlock reference. It's just I put references in of whatever I'm watching. There's a Scandinavian like murder detective guy in there. So because I'm watching River now on Netflix. So it's just I pity anyone that tries to read whatever I write this month. But I admire what you're doing, Eric, because it's such a cool idea to get a whole bunch of people involved and have it be like a CNET collective of your readers and our readers and people excited about this stuff. So I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, I can't wait to mold it into something that's coherent enough for us to publish, which we will, next year. And again, just big thanks to everyone. I mean, there's a few people. A guy named, his screen name is Ryan Yee. I think he's somewhere in Asia. I'm not sure. Who's just been tearing it up on there. There's another guy, Scott Stevens from St. Louis, that's contributed a lot. And then people like Celio, who are just editing the heck out of it. So go check it out. And it's also cool to just like sit back and watch it like in real time, kind of evolve in the doc. So yeah, cool. cnet.com/crowd sci-fi. So check that out. And we're way over time now. So thank you everyone for watching the CraveCast, and happy Thanksgiving if you're in the US, and happy figuring out what Thanksgiving is if you're not. So for Stephen Beecham, Kelsey Adams, Bonnie Burton, Jeff Sparkman, and Danny Gallagher in Texas, that's the CraveCast. We'll see you next time.
that your credit?
Yeah.